Hey everyone, so welcome to the next video in the geography lecture series. Now we will have the discussion on plate tectonics theory. Please do the earlier theories, both the continental drift and the seafloor spreading theory from the previous videos, and do like, comment, share and subscribe if you feel the videos are of help to you. Now when we understand the plate tectonics theory, there has to be the background of all these theories that we have covered. So you really need to be like मतलब having those pointers in your mind, otherwise थोड़ा सा आपको समझने में मुश्किल आएगी. So this theory is basically formulated from the continental drift theory, convectional current theory, for which we studied to understand the seafloor spreading theory. Now this theory was suggested by Mackenzie and Parker in 1967 and then further outlined by Morgan in 1968. So you should remember all of these names because it has been noticed in the previous year paper of different topics that they even now ask you the people's name also. So for all these theories जो भी इनके propounder रहे हैं या related personalities, you should remember the names for prelims perspective. That's one. Match वगैरह में they can give you the question. Now according to this theory, firstly because the name itself says plate tectonics, so हमें समझना होगा plates क्या है सबसे पहले तो, right? तो यहाँ पे जो प्लेट टेक्टोनिक का कॉन्सेप्ट आया उसमें ये बोला गया अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस थ्योरी दैट अ टेक्टोनिक प्लेट विच यू विल ऑल्सो कॉल्ड एज अ लिथोस्फेरिक प्लेट इज़ अ मैसिव, बहुत बड़ा, इरेगुलरली शेप्ड, विच मीन्स इट विल नॉट हैव एनी फिक्स्ड शेप कि ऐसे रेक्टेंगल है या स्क्वायर है या सर्कल एनी काइंड, नो, जस्ट इरेगुलर शेप, slab of the solid rock. So it is an irregularly shaped slab of the solid rock. ठीक है. उसके अलावा it is generally composed of both the continental and the oceanic lithosphere. Now the technical definition of lithosphere, I hope you remember, we have seen it will be your crust plus your uppermost mantle. See, every topic, why do we say that it is related? Because these terminologies we have done in the previous class, and if you do not remember this, then you will get confused. So within that also we know about the oceanic and the continental, right? This is what they are telling. So those plates, and this topic I have given you in the topic on earthquake also. So it will be a massive irregularly shaped slab, बड़ा सा slab जैसा होगा, which will constitute both the continental and the oceanic lithosphere. And the plates here are not static. This is what the theory is saying, that the plates are moving continuously and horizontally, which vertically will be like this, so horizontally, which means like this. So the plates are moving horizontally over the asthenosphere as rigid units. Now you know about the layers. So you have the crust and you have this uppermost layer of mantle. So basically this total is your lithosphere, and below lithosphere you have another upper layer of mantle which is your asthenosphere, and then the other layers of mantle. So this asthenosphere, हमने यहाँ movement की बात की थी magma वगैरह की, if you remember. So this is what they are telling, that the plates move horizontally over the asthenosphere as rigid units. ये काफ़ी rigid हैं, ठीक है, static रहेंगे और move करेंगे. Now the lithosphere includes the crust and the topmost mantle, and the thickness varies. Oceanic में the thickness is roughly between 5 to 100 and आपका continental में roughly about 200. Also, a plate may be referred to as the continental plate or oceanic plate. So how will you call the plate to be either a continental or an oceanic plate? How will you call it? It will depend on which of the two occupy a larger portion of the plate. For example, if this is a plate I talk about, so on this plate there are major portion of the ocean, or on this plate there is a major portion of the continent. Whatever will be the majority on that plate, that will be called as either oceanic or continental. For example, if you have to give an example of the oceanic plate, so you can talk about, let's say, the Pacific plate. I'll just show you the diagram to help you understand this. And if you have to give the example of a continental plate, you can give the example of your Eurasian plate. Before we proceed, let's just see the Pacific and the Eurasian plate. I hope you're able to see this diagram on the screen. So you have this Pacific plate here. This whole region is your Pacific plate. And you can see irregularly shaped. कोई shape तो है नहीं, irregular है, massive है, बहुत बड़ा सा. Now this entire region is your Pacific Ocean. So you know that the major portion of your Pacific plate is an ocean, and therefore it is Pacific. So therefore this is called as an oceanic plate. Now if you, let's say, talk about the Eurasian plate, ठीक है। तो यहाँ पे यूरेशियन प्लेट जो है वो आपका इधर वाली जो ये पूरा एरिया है, अब यू आर सीइंग कि दिस इज मोस्टली द कॉन्टिनेंटल पार्ट, हार्डली वाटर बॉडीज आर देयर, आर वाटर बॉडीज बट इट्स मोस्टली द कॉन्टिनेंटल पार्ट, देयरफॉर you will call it to be the continental plate. Now the theory of the plate tectonic proposes that the Earth's lithosphere is divided into 7 major and some minor plates, which are moving horizontally over the asthenosphere as rigid units. So what has it come out to be? 7 major and many minor plates. We will talk about those plates also in the coming classes. Also, these major plates are surrounded by young fold mountain ridges, trenches and also the faults, which are the cracks. Okay. Now let's see this image. It is showing you, this is again borrowed from your NCERT only, the major and the minor plates of the world. So if you see the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. ठीक है, ये भी यूरेशियन का ही हिस्सा है ना, इधर से इधर जुड़ जाएगा. So this 7. So these 7 are your major plates and the other ones I have named circled in red are your minor plates. Now these are not the only minor plates. ठीक है, और भी बहुत सारे हैं, जैसे ये भी है, ये भी है. The reason of doing only the, sorry, this is the major one, but the reason of doing these minor plates is क्योंकि इन्होंने आपके बुक में एक लिस्ट दी हुई है, तो बस उसके अकॉर्डिंग मैंने यहाँ पे आपको नंबरिंग कर दी है so that you find it easily. ठीक है. But what about the names of these plates? अभी हम इसको नहीं करेंगे. The types of plates we'll do in the next class. The reason is that firstly you understand all the basics of the plate. This is just a factual information that you will see कि अच्छा ये plates है, ये नाम है. पहले उसको आगे समझते हैं. This is another image I have given for your reference for the reason that there are a few plates which you might not clearly get in the NCERT, तो आप वो यहाँ से check कर लोगे. ठीक है, चलिए. Now here the part is कि how the plates are moving. When we say कि अच्छा they are moving over that asthenosphere region, तो उसमें आपको ये वाली इमेज याद आ जाएगी if you remember when we did the continental drift theory. Now you will see कि this image has of course some changes in it. The reason being that continental drift theory was proposed by Wegener. तो he had his own points to talk about Pangea etc. ठीक है, यहाँ पे it is just about कि ठीक है continents जो है वो motion में थे and different points of time जो है हमने अलग अलग movement देखा of different continents and these continents had their different location and different point of time. Therefore you see slight difference with the continental drift theory but based on the same idea. The core idea remains the same that the continents were drifting. ठीक है. Now before we see about the movement etc, let's try to see about the rates of the plate movement. अब इसमें क्या है कि how do you know about the rates कि वो कितनी fast घूम रही है या कितना slow घूम रहा है. ठीक है, how would you know about it? For that to understand you need to study. I mean you will not study, of course the scientists have studied and they have found that the strips of the magnetic field, normal also and the reverse magnetic field also, which parallel the mid-oceanic ridges, these magnetic fields are helping the scientists determine that what is the possible rate of movement of the plate. So it just varies from plate to plate. For example, if you talk about the Arctic ridge region, इसका लोएस्ट स्लोएस्ट रेट है. ठीक है, सबसे कम धीरे धीरे घूमता है, इसीलिए दैट इज़ वाई यू से कि हमें नहीं पता चलता है ना, दैट मूवमेंट वी आर नॉट एबल टू फिगर आउट. सो इतना स्लोएस्ट दैट फॉर एग्जांपल लेस देन 2.5 सेंटीमीटर पर ईयर. इफ़ यू लेट्स से टॉक अबाउट ईस्ट पैसिफिक राइज नियर द ईस्टर आइलैंड इन द साउथ पैसिफिक रीजन, तो उसका मूवमेंट जो है दैट इज़ हैविंग समवेयर अराउंड 15 सेंटीमीटर पर ईयर. सो that is considered to be the fastest one. Now again for prelims perspective you can remember these facts. ठीक है, तो ये हो गया about the rates of the plate movement. Now when we talk about the forces and we talk about the how this movement takes place and how the shifting etc takes place, तो the forces and all of that हम अगले क्लास में करेंगे. अभी हम इसको समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. We have read that okay the plates are moving, ठीक है, and they are constantly moving over the globe throughout the history of the earth. ऐसा नहीं है कि this has started couple of years ago. No, millions and millions and millions of years ago this has been already happening. But what is to be remembered, according to Wegener it was the continent that was moving. I hope you remember. ठीक है, it is not the continent that moves as believed by Wegener. What has the what theory was put forward by the Wegener? Continental drift theory, that the continents were drifting. and we have seen that Pangea wala image. But this theory proposes that continents as proposed by Wegener does not move, because according to this theory continents are part of the plate only. So movement happens of the plate and not of the continent, and the plate can be either a continental or an oceanic. I hope that's clear to you. So they are saying कि plate move कर रही है, अब इस plate के ऊपर continent है, therefore you feel like continent is also moving. But technically what they say, continents are not moving. It is the plate that moving. ठीक है? Then further, also they are asking you to note that all the plates without exception have moved in the geological past. ठीक है? They have been constantly moving and they will even continue to move in the future also. Now, Wegener had thought of all the continents to have initially existed as a supercontinent, which we have done in the form of Pangea. Just to quickly help you remind that, नहीं तो फिर अगर आप भूल गए होगे तो फिर that will be a problem for you again. ठीक है? I hope you remember this was this continental drift theory given by Wegener, and you had Pangea as one landmass, then Panthalassa, and you know how the drifting happened, and this is how the continent shifted. So according to Wegener, this was happening. But when we understand the points related to this particular theory, what it says is कि Wegener had thought of the continents to be initially existing as a supercontinent, which they called as Pangea. But the later discoveries revealed that the continental masses were resting on the plates, right? And they have been wandering all through the geological period. And Pangea फिर क्या रहा? तो Pangea, according to the later discoveries, was just a result of the converging of different continental masses that were parts of one or the other plates. So according to it, what was happening? Let's say this is one plate, this is another plate. It has some portion of some continent, some portion of some continent. So let's say if they are converging, these continents over these plates converge, then later phase में they all of these regions from different plates is just got combined and something like Pangea was formed. And Wegener had said what? That firstly it was one combined landmass Pangea, and then it further broke down into different continents. Okay, further into two and then further into many. So this is the difference. Also, how the scientists come out to the discoveries, or let's say the conclusion, or not conclusion, at least pointers for the theory. So the scientists use the paleomagnetic data. You have already talked about the rocks paleomagnetism, ठीक है, हमने किया हुआ है. And they have determined the positions held by each of the present continental landmass, जो आपको अभी ये image में दिखाया. So this is based on this particular theory. Therefore you see that difference कि अलग अलग जो combinations हैं वो अपने बनते चले गए in different points of time of different continents. Numbering में उन्होंने आपको करके समझा दिया है. The position of the Indian subcontinent, ठीक है, because we will have a separate section specifically about the movement of the Indian plate, because every plate is moving, no? तो हमें अभी सिर्फ इंडिया का समझना है. इंडिया के पोजीशन को हमें डिटेल में समझने की कोशिश करनी है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ़ यू सी हियर, 5th नंबर इज रिप्रेजेंटिंग इंडिया. सो एक बार आपको 5th नंबर यहाँ दिख रहा है, ठीक है, इंडिया का लोकेशन यहाँ दिख रहा है. देन यू आर सीइंग इट हियर, देन यू आर सीइंग इट हियर, then in this you are seeing it here, and then finally in the present position you are seeing it here. So how it has changed over a period of time, that movement we will understand. But the position of the Indian subcontinent, especially the peninsular India, this region, is traced with the help of the rocks, क्योंकि paleomagnetism में this is what we study, analyzed from the Nagpur region, ठीक है, महाराष्ट्र में. तो ये सारे pointers you have to remember and understand this image कि वो किस basis पर उन्होंने movements की बात की है. In the next class we'll continue the discussion. We'll understand about the forces responsible for the movement of plates. We will discuss more on the types of the plates, and also we will talk about the different kinds of boundaries that are related to the plates, because ये आपके image में आएंगे, and if you do not understand this फिर वो problem होगी, ठीक है. And then in the further classes हम movement of the Indian plate भी cover करेंगे. So hope this video was of use to you. Please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you so much guys. Take care till then. Bye bye.